I'm an art therapist and a CBT psychotherapist. Before I begin, I want to clarify something very important. My private clinical work is completely separate from my role in the association. I do not work with hemophilia families in the clinic. In my private practice, I work with a wide variety of clients, people living with other chronic illnesses, individuals coping with anxiety, post-trauma, learning disabilities, and people on the autism spectrum, children, teenagers, and adults. This broad clinical experience has taught me a lot about emotion, coping, and creative expressions. It has given me a sensitivity that I bring to my work with the hemophilia community. Over the years, in the association, I've met many patients, parents, and children who have shared their fears, worries, uncertainties, hopes, and resilience. Even when people use the same words like I'm scared, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, what they actually feel can be very different. And this is where art comes in. Art opens a safe space, a space where we don't have to find the right words, space for breathing, a space for release, space for discovering things about ourselves gently at our own pace. Today, we are going to explore that space together through understanding, examples, and later through a short experience. Okay, just a minute. Okay. We can see art as our primary language. Before we had words, before we could explain anything in sentences, we had experience. From the moment we are born, our world is sensory. A baby doesn't say, I'm curious. They simply explore. They crawl on different surfaces, feel texture, splash in water, touch, tastes, and observe. The body learns the world before language arrives. Our senses tell us about the world before words do. As we grow older in kindergarten, the sensory explosion expands. Children experiment with clay, Play-Doh, gouache paints, watercolors, markers, crayon, sands, fabric, paper, etc. Each material speaks a different emotional language. Some are soft, some are messy, some structured, some wild. Now you can take a moment and imagine the feel of clay under your hand, how it presses, how it moves, how it responds to your touch. You can remember in the kindergarten if you don't do any clay. Or picture watercolors flowing across paper. They are soft, gentle, blending like emotion slowly uh, surfacing. The natural intuitive exploration is actually our first emotional language. As adults, we forget it. We think we have to explain everything with words, but often our body remembers that words cannot hold. In a moment, I will explain more about how each material connects to a different emotional needs and how it helps us express experiences we cannot describe in words. Do you understand until now? Okay, just a minute. Okay. So what is art therapy? Art therapy is a therapeutic approach that combines talking with creating. It allows emotions, memories, and experience to come out when they are too difficult, confusing, or painful to express verbally. The most important thing to remember is this. You don't need to know how to draw. There is no right or wrong. There is no grade. There is only expression. The materials themselves are central. It can be clay, watercolors, gouache, charcoal, yarn, fabrics, markers, crayons, sand, anything. There are tools of expression, but there are also tools of emotional regulation. Sometimes clients tell me, I didn't think anything would happen, but the moment I touched the clay, something shifted. Or they can say, I didn't expect the color to bring up a memory. And okay, and now I want to add something very important about art therapy, something that makes it so safe and powerful. Uh, we call it distancing or emotion distance. When someone creates an image, the emotion is no longer trapped inside their body. It's not it's not it's not longer sitting heavily in the chest uh, or in the stomach. It moves outward onto the page, into the clay, into the color. And once the emotion is outside, we can look at differently, more gently, with more breathing room. In art therapy, we don't always talk directly about the what hurts. We don't always say, I'm terrified, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm worried about the future. Sometimes that is simply too much. So instead, person might draw a storm or a dark shape or a tangled line or choose a color that feels heavy or create small figures standing far away. And that is enough. Because the drawing is the fear, the sculpture is the sadness, the color is the anxiety. We talk around the feeling, we talk through the image, and we direct it to the pain. This gives people a sense of safety and control. The artwork becomes a buffer, a gentle space between the person and the emotion, a space where they can approach the fear slowly at their own pace without being overwhelmed. Sometimes clients point at the artwork and say, I can talk about that, but I can't talk about this yet. And through the image, they end up expressing things that they could not say directly. This is the power of art therapy. It bypasses the part of us that overthinks and cannot connect directly to the part of us that feels, but in a safe way with emotional distance and protections. It's not about talent. It's not about creating a masterpiece. It's about movement, touch, expression, and giving emotions a safe place to be to be seen and understood. Okay, just a minute. Okay. Let's talk about what art actually enables us to do. Art creates emotional movement in ways that talking alone sometimes cannot. I want to go a bit deeper into what that actually means in practice. First, emotional expression without words. Not everyone knows how to explain that they feel. In fact, many people don't even have the longest for their inner world. Sometimes emotions are too raw, too confusing, or too overwhelming to put into sentences. In art therapy, the artwork becomes the language. A heavy line can express tension. A splash of red can express fear or uh, urgency. A soft blend of color can express sadness or longing. A chaotic scrabble might express excitation. People often say, I didn't know this feeling was inside me until it came out of the page. I have to say, you can't, I'm not tell them You draw a black something, it means that you are, depressed. No, ask them what you see, what you're painting. We look together on it. Second, safe emotional distance. This is something deeply important. When when feelings stay inside us, they can feel enormous, like they feel the whole body. But when we externalize them into an artwork, the intensity change. We can look at the emotion from the outside, almost like looking at another person experiences. And that distance gives us clarity, safety, and breathing room. A child might draw a monster instead of saying, I'm scared. A parent might shade a dark corner instead of saying, I feel alone. An adult might mold a tiny clay figure and place it in the corner of the page instead of saying, I feel helpless. The artwork speaks for us, but also protects us. Third, emotional regulation. Different materials help us regulate ourselves in different ways. Let's revisit them, but with a deeper understanding of how the nervous system responds. For example, clay is grounding, stabilizing, physical, pressing, rolling, and shaping. All of this release tension from the muscles. It helps people feel more present in their bodies. Watercolors, they're flowing, gentle, soothing. They allow emotions to appear slowly, softly. They're perfect when someone needs emotional softness rather than intensity. Gouache paints, bold and strong, thick layers, strong structures. They give permission to express anger, frustration, power, or intensity. Charcoal, dramatic but flexible. You can make deep marks, but also erase, soften, and smudge, smudge them. It mirrors moments of confusion, mixed emotions, or the need to reshape an experience. Yarn and fabrics, comforting, um, textile, emotionally protective. They are wonderful for people who need warmth, connection, or soothing. Markers and pencil, structured and predictable. They help people who feel overwhelmed, regain clarity, order, and control. Sand and water shifting, never fixed. They help people explore change and transformation, especially when they feel uh, st- stuck or rigid in their emotions. And finally, arts allow empowerment. When chronic illness enters a family, many things feel out of our control. But in art, the person has fully agency. They choose the color, the movement, the size, the direction. They shape something new, something that didn't exist before. And that alone can be healing. Okay, just a minute. Okay. Now I want to talk about how art can help us express our emotion, especially in the context of living with hemophilia. Living with a chronic illness or raising a child with one creates an emotional landscape that is complex, deep, and often unspoken. The moment of diagnosis is often remembered forever, not just in the words the doctor said, but feeling in the body, the silence, the breaths that go stuck, the uncertainty that suddenly entered the room. Art, give, art can give shape to the moment. I often invite clients to draw the moment of diagnosis. Some draw storm, some draws broken line, some draw nothing, just blank page, because it in the moment, everything felt empty. Colors can represent fear, pain, or hope. Clay can help create figure that represents me inside the illness or my child inside the diagnosis. Heavy strokes, thick strokes express intensity. Tiny, quiet drawings express vulnerability. Before and after drawings help understand how life changed. People often tell me, I didn't know how much I was holding until I saw it on the page. And sometimes the opposite happens. People draw something full of strength and only then realized how resilient they truly are. Um, Art gives space for the complicity, fear and hope, anger and love, helplessness and strength, all living side by side. In hemophilia families, so many experiences are carried silently. The emergency room visit, the uncertainty, the fear of injuries, the watchfulness, the hope that treatments will be continued to improve, the wish for normalcy. Art allows this experience to come out gently, safely, and protection and distance. Okay. Okay. Let's explore how art can help us cope with anxiety, especially for those living with chronic illness or raising a child with one. Anxiety is deeply familiar to anyone living with chronic illness. It becomes part of daily life, not because people are anxious by nature, but because the environment demands constant alertness. Parents worry about injuries, school trips, sports, emergencies. Adult worries about bleedings, pain, long-term impact, and the unknown. The body stays on alert even on days that seems calm. Art helps manage anxiety in three powerful ways. And the first one is release. Anxiety lives in the body, uh, in the shoulders, stomach, breast. Uh, Art gives the body a place to release tension without needing to choke. Pressing clay, dragging charcoal, brushing watercolor across paper. These actions bring movement into a body that is holding uh, too much. Sometimes I ask clients simply to notice what happens when their hand touched a material. Very often, the breast softness, the shoulders relax, the body speaks long before the mind understands. Second is order. When anxiety fills the mind, everything feels chaotic, fast, blurry. Putting something on paper, even a single line, creates order. Art allows us to sort. What what am I feeling? Where where does it sit in my body? What shape does it have? How big it is? When, um, when the chaos becomes visible, it becomes manageable. Client once told me, when I put my anxiety on the paper, it stops chasing me. Now I am the one looking at it. That moment of clarity is therapeutic in itself. And, the third one is control. Chronic illness often brings moments where nothing feels controllable. Medical situation, emergencies, treatment discussions, many things feel impressed, no chosen. But in art, every choice belongs to the creator, the tools, the materials, the color, the pressure, the beginning, the ending. These tiny discussions create decisions, create a sense of empowerment that reduce helplessness. Even the act of erasing, wash, washing, worshipping, or adding something new mirrors emotional resilience. Control, um, control in art becomes emotional control in life. If, if I'm putting it all together, when we combine release, order, and control, something powerful happens. The nervous system calms, the mind becomes clearer, the body feels safer, and anxiety becomes something we can navigate, not something that controls us. Okay. Now, before we move to the experiential part, I want to show you a few examples of drawing that illustrate what I've been describing. Okay. This drawing, you see, this one from here you can see a drawing by a 52 years old woman who was asked to think about the moment her daughter was diagnosed with a chronic illness. Okay, this one. Um, Here you can see a drawing by a 38 years old woman who underwent an emergency surgery and how she felt during the operation. Okay. This one is a drawing of someone who asked to paint where I'm right now in my life, here down. Where do I want to be in the future here? And what do I want to achieve in the future? And the path between the places. And I asked her to put herself in the road. So she put herself here. Um, and this is drawing of a safe place. This is the drawing of 12 years old, 30 years old, and 27 years old. Okay, now we move to the experience, the expressional exercise. In conclusion, we can say that, okay, just a minute. Art is ancient, natural, and deeply personal language. It reconnects us to our inner calm and our emotional truth, especially in moments of fear, stress, or pain. Everyone can create. Art is not about talent, it's about breath, expressions, and meeting ourselves gently. Thank you.